I was excited to learn that on this day when I'm scheduled to present the meditation, Barbara is the teacher and the topic is travel. I love to travel. I love to think about travel, and I like to talk about travel, and I like to plan travel, and I love to consider how travel has changed me. So I couldn't be happier than being here today. So in the spirit of inquiry, I asked myself a few questions. What made me want to see the world? And why do I love to travel? And what has travel taught me? We didn't travel when I was a child. We didn't have the money, and because we were poor, my parents worked night and day to eke out a living, so we also didn't have the time. However, something my father said to me may have generated the curiosity I have for seeing the world and meeting people who live there. He used to say, every person you meet, no matter where they're from, will have something to teach you. Now, when I think back on all the trips I have taken, both before John and I married and with him, it's the people that are central to my memories. It's the faces I remember more than the places. From my very first adventure when I flew to the Netherlands to do my student teaching in a town called Terneuzen, it is Marlene, the Dow Chemical telex operator, who took me into her family and made me laugh every day with her passionate, joyful personality. It is the photographer, Mr. Martin, who invited my elementary age students into his photo lab to develop their own pictures. Or the owner of the cheese shop who fed me a bite of every kind of cheese he stocked to make sure I had the right one to send home to my family. It's the neighbor in my apartment who baked me a slagroom cake every week because she thought I was too thin. Those were the days. It's the woman I met walking on the dike who tatted lace while listening to the Beatles and told me the stories of surviving Nazi occupation. It is Ans, whose father died during my visit and who invited me to sit with her in her parlor with her father's body, and she taught me a different way to say goodbye. It's a young student from Turkey living in France named Engin Oder, who shared his family's story of immigration. It is Marcella and her 5-year-old daughter Giselle from Paris, who we met on a train from Luxembourg, who spoke no English, yet in the middle of the night, when she realized we didn't have a place to stay, invited us to her flat. That overnight turned into a week. It is Martina in St. Petersburg, Russia, who guided our tour and taught us about life in a repressive communist country. It is Bunta from Cambodia, who told us about his life as a child soldier during the Pol Pot regime and showed us the killing fields where he still goes each weekend, trying to recover the bones of his family so he can bury them together and they can find eternal peace. It is Tu Ha from Hanoi, who dragged us through a wildly chaotic motorcycle traffic on a Saturday night in the city, trying to find a place to fix my phone, which I had dropped in a water feature. It is Tran, our Vietnamese guide, who taught us about reconciliation when she explained the stories about her mother who fought for the North Vietnamese and her husband who fought for the South Vietnamese. It is Caesar, our pool server in Mexico, who wanted us to help him improve his English, who is now the most celebrated sommelier on the Baja Peninsula and has traveled to every wine region in the US and Europe, remaining our friend over 25 years. It is Moses and Elizabeth Agaba in Bwindi, Uganda, who named me godmother of their beautiful daughter, Cindy Anderson Elizabeth Agaba. It is John from Arusha, who spent a week teaching us about animals of the Serengeti while sharing his deep faith. It is Reggie and Evod from Tanzania, who taught our family to spot game while teaching us about growing up a Maasai warrior. And most recently, it is Ashraf, a Palestinian living in New York City, who told us about his mother and shared pictures of his beautiful sisters and their recent weddings, but at this moment spends sleepless nights worrying about his beloved family trapped in Gaza. My dad was right. Every person I met in my travels taught me something. What I know for sure, no matter our nationality, our religion, our color, our income, we are all the same. We are good, we find joy, we love our families, we want our children to grow up in peace, and we survive our sorrows. Travel taught me that. My hope is that the world we are creating with easier travel will create opportunities for others to travel and learn that as well. And maybe for those who cannot travel, people's stories readily available to us on our televisions, our phones, our computers. Maybe, just maybe, more hearts will open and we will become better at seeing that our similarities are numerous and our differences are few, and we will learn to cherish one another. I will leave you with a quote from Anthony Bourdain. I have used it here before, but it perfectly summarizes my feelings about travel. Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts, it even breaks your heart, but that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. You leave, but hopefully you leave something good behind. Namaste.